Hello everyone, my name is Julia, and on behalf of Cambridge Assessment English, I would like to welcome you to the second day of our online conference, Become the Teacher You Want to Be. Please let me know in the chat box that you can hear me well. Please put a plus or write something. Thank you very much for your pluses. I'm happy to see them. Thank you for joining us today. Cambridge Assessment English helps teachers prepare for a lifetime of success in the classroom. Driven by our belief that better teaching leads to better outcomes for learners, we work closely with teachers to help people learn English and prove their skills to the world. Our qualifications are globally respected as the quality standard for teachers of all levels of experience. We can support your progression, open doors to exciting career opportunities, and help you give your students the best chance to realize their potential. We have a range of resources, materials, and qualifications to help you define your own personal professional development journey. Everything is based on frameworks to help you identify where you are in your professional journey, where you want to be, and how you can get there. This day is devoted to CELTA. Before we start, I would like to show you the agenda. So, the 28th April, Unpacking CELTA. We start with the overview, then CELTA trainer is going to talk about what a typical CELTA course is. And then there will be some teacher's experience. 2 teachers, CELTA certified, who have already received their international certificates, will share their personal experience and tell us their stories. So we do recommend you to use Google Chrome. If you cannot hear the presenter or see the slides video, please refresh the webinar page or reconnect to your internet connection. Be an active participant, provide feedback, and ask questions. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions in the question box. The recording of the webinar and your certificate of attendance will be emailed to you within a week of the webinar. If you want to rewatch the webinar earlier and not to wait for 1 week, please follow the link and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All webinar recordings are added to this YouTube channel, Cambridge Assessment English Russia. So, hello everyone, and welcome again to the second day of our online conference, Become the Teacher You Want to Be. Today we're speaking about CELTA. So I see so many people. Hello Crimea, hello Kemerovo, hello Yerevan, hello Kazakhstan, Krasnodar. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's 4 p.m. in Moscow, and I'm happy to introduce the first presenter, Tim Banks. Tim, hello, can you hear me? If yes, please go on air and start webcasting. Hi Tim, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, yes.
Wonderful, so I think that it's time to start. The floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you, Julia, and thanks to everybody for joining the Teaching Qualifications Conference. As Julia says, I'm the Global Manager for Teacher Development based here in Cambridge, where it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so a little bit behind you in timing. And I'm going to talk a bit about CELTA, first of all, give you an overview of what CELTA is about. But before I do that, I'll give a little introduction to all of our teaching qualifications and a little bit of background as well. As Julia says, please add any questions in the questions box, and I should have time to answer some of those towards the end of this presentation. So, Giving you the confidence to go further is what our teaching aims to do, our teacher training aims to do, and our development work. And why do we do professional development for teachers of English? Well, we offer a comprehensive range of industry-leading qualifications and a variety of different professional development for teachers, as well as resources to help you in your classrooms. And there are various reasons for that. As Julia mentioned in the introduction, the first reason is that we believe that better teaching leads to better learning outcomes for your learners. So your learners will improve their English if you improve your skills, your confidence, your teaching ability. So that's where we're aiming to get to with all of our teacher training and professional development. And the professional development really is about building skills and confidence to help you in the classroom. So it's very much classroom focused in all of the qualifications that we offer. And these qualifications are recognised by thousands of employers around the world in various sectors, in private sector, public sector, in schools and in higher education. So a very brief overview of what the qualifications are. So CELTA is the course that and the qualification we're going to talk about today, mainly for two groups really: new teachers who are new or fairly new to the profession, but also teachers who have some experience but want to develop their skills further. And it's a course-based qualification, so you have to take the course in order to gain the qualification. The others to mention in brief: the TKT, or Teaching Knowledge Test, quite popular in Russia, is for new and experienced teachers who want to prove their teaching knowledge. It's a suite of 5 modular tests in which you can take a test to demonstrate the knowledge that you have of teaching. The Delta we'll be talking about tomorrow in the continuation of this conference, which is for more experienced teachers looking to deepen their knowledge further, developing their career, and that's taken as 3 modules. The SelfP and the SelfS, which were more the focus yesterday in the conference, for primary and secondary teachers, particularly in compulsory education, although also sometimes taken by people in private language schools. And those are really in-service course-based qualifications. And finally, the Train the Trainer course, which is for people who have a lot of experience in teaching and want to go on to develop their skills as trainers and potentially become trainers on the SelfP and SelfS course as well. So those are the main courses and qualifications. As I say, we're going to be talking about CELTA today. Julia also mentioned the teaching framework, which sits behind all of the qualifications that we offer. So this describes in 5 areas of teaching the various skills and competencies that you need to have at 4 stages of development. So you can see down the column on the left the categories and the stages across the top, from foundation to expert. And you can use this to identify where you are in the different categories and where you want to focus your development, the areas that you want to focus on for development in the future. This is just the summary level of the framework. There's a much more detailed document which breaks it down into far more detailed competency statements, which you can find on our Cambridge English website. Now, you wouldn't expect all teachers to get to the expert level. For most teachers, something at a developing level or proficient level would be more than enough. And you may be stronger in some areas than in others. So you would have a kind of jagged profile through the framework, which is perfectly normal. Okay, so to go on to look at CELTA, and CELTA on that framework sits at the developing level, the foundation to developing levels of the Cambridge English teaching framework. And first of all, right at the beginning, what's new with CELTA? So what's changed? The big change is that CELTA can now be taken online. And this was a change that we introduced about a year ago now in response to the COVID pandemic. So clearly most centres were unable to continue to offer face-to-face courses during the current situation. Many have still not been able to reopen or have reopened and had to close again at various times. And so we took the decision to make it possible for people to take the CELTA course completely online. And that means you do the course in exactly the same way as normal in most respects. So what hasn't changed? You're still doing the same course, you're getting the same training, you're getting the same development, the same quality of experience. You get the same qualification, the same certificate at the end of the course. You still do synchronous teaching practice, so live teaching with groups of real students, same as always. It's just that in the case of online courses, those can be done through an online lesson. So you might be doing it on a platform such as Zoom or whatever it might be that's available, where you're teaching groups of learners live, but in an online situation rather than in the standard classroom. The ratio of trainers to trainees is the same as it always has been. So for every 6 trainees, there has to be at least 1 trainer, sometimes more. And it's still taken through our authorised CELTA centres. So in essence, the response to COVID was to allow it to be taken online in parallel to face-to-face courses when possible. And we've now decided that we'll continue to offer it in that way. So as I'll talk about a bit more later, there are now 3 ways that you can take CELTA, or there will be from July. One of those is face-to-face, and the other is online, and the third is a blend of both online and face-to-face. So that's going to continue to be possible in the long term. So why would you take CELTA? What's the benefit? What's the reason? What do you get out of it? Well, it depends, of course, a bit on your personal situation, what your motivations are for taking a CELTA course. Broadly speaking, the people who take CELTA fall into a number of different groups, though. Some of those are people who are starting out as an English language teacher. They either have no experience or they've come straight out of college but don't have much practical teaching experience. And in that case, CELTA provides the skills, the knowledge, the background knowledge, but crucially the hands-on practice with groups of learners. And that kind of hands-on practice is really a core of the course. So trying things out, learning about things, developing the background knowledge, but then putting that into practice is really at the heart of what a CELTA course is about. And that certainly builds your confidence in then going into the classroom. Perhaps you're already a teacher. I'm sure many of you are teachers already, but you may want to develop your skills further in particular areas, and CELTA is particularly relevant where you want to develop your skills in teaching English communicatively. So using a communicative method to develop people's speaking skills, especially to develop integrated skills in a classroom, then CELTA is ideal for you. So it builds your practical classroom skills, gives you some techniques, some skills, but also an understanding of the principles behind them. In some cases, you may be a teacher already, you've got experience, but you need a formal international qualification. So if you need a qualification that will allow you to get certain jobs, to apply for certain positions, perhaps to travel to work in other countries, then again, CELTA is an ideal qualification for you to take. It's recognized internationally, as well as developing your skills and your teaching practice. It confirms your ability, and it gives you the opportunity then to use the qualification to apply for teaching positions. In some cases, another group of people who often take CELTA are people who have not been teachers before. They've perhaps been doing a different career and have decided that now is the time for them to change direction, try a new career, and they'd like to become English teachers. CELTA gives you the training that they need to start, to get into the classroom with the confidence and the basic skills needed to begin teaching, and then to develop beyond that. So lots of different reasons why people choose to take CELTA, depending on their individual situation. A couple of quotes here from some candidates who've taken the course. So this is from a CELTA graduate, currently an English teacher, saying that it changed her job prospects. So taking CELTA can improve your job prospects, can give you opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise get. And again, this is from another graduate of CELTA, saying the course was great and the actual teaching experience prepared her for her first job. So that's kind of what I was saying, that it's that hands-on teaching experience, the classroom practice, which is really central to a CELTA course. Begins usually from very early on in the course and develops through the course. And that's what really gives you that kind of confidence and the knowledge that you can, the confidence that you can apply what you're learning in the real classroom. And finally, one more, somebody who was already a teacher. So this person was already a teacher of English, in fact, but still said it's a life-changing experience. And she feels much better prepared now to deal with her students' needs. So responding to students' needs again is a vital part of the course. And finally, this is a link here to a short video. I won't play the video now, but if you go on the Cambridge English website, you can see this video of a candidate who is actually a Brazilian candidate, although she took the course in London. And she talks, it's a 5-minute video where she talks about her experience really going through the course. So it starts with her early on in the course, what she's doing, what it's like, what the experience of taking a CELTA course is. And then she talks at various points through the course, saying what she's learnt and how she's feeling about it. So it gives you a good impression of what it's like to actually take a CELTA course. And you can find that, as I say, on the Cambridge English website. So in terms of getting a job, being one of the main reasons why people take CELTA, employers ask for CELTA. So we did this survey 2 years ago now, in fact, the most recent one. Well, that was a repeat of one we'd done a few years before that. We looked at, I think it was about 600 job ads for teachers of English on international international sites recruiting English teachers. And 70% of those adverts specifically asked for CELTA by name. So they said requirement CELTA, or sometimes other qualifications, but CELTA was listed as one of the requirements. Within the United Kingdom, 90% of ads asked for CELTA by name. And even in places such as the UAE and Saudi Arabia, over 70% of the adverts were asking for CELTA as a qualification, as a requirement for applying for the job. So that gives you an idea that it has this international recognition that will really help you move on in your career if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, looking for jobs in the future. So what is the CELTA course? What's in a course and how does it work? So wherever you take the course, whatever format you choose to take, certain things are standard to all CELTA courses. As I mentioned, there are different ways you can take the course. You can take it in lots of different countries, lots of different centres within the country, but all the courses will cover the same syllabus and meet the same standards. So they'll always cover the principles of effective teaching. They'll always give you a range of practical teaching techniques, ways that you can apply those principles in the classroom, and they'll give you the experience of trying things out with real groups of learners, and you get feedback from your trainers and your colleagues on the course on your teaching. So it's a constant cycle of teaching, getting feedback, adapting what you're doing, and moving on to the next instance of teaching practice. So at the core of the CELTA course, these are the kind of minimum requirements on a course, if you like. So all courses include a minimum of 120 hours of study. Whether that's online or face-to-face, that's the minimum number of hours of study. And also outside of those kind of contact hours, let's say there's a further 80 hours of supported self-study. So the 120 hours may be in the face-to-face training room, doing input, teaching lessons, watching other people teach lessons. And the 80 hours of supported self-study can be a range of things like preparing for lessons, developing materials for your lessons, looking at reference materials, reading about a subject, writing assignments, all of these things. In total, it would come to around 200 hours of study. So a good large block of study. And the course will always include at least 6 hours of directed observation of experienced teachers. So you'll be given tasks to do to look at certain particular aspects of what's happening in the lesson. So you might, for example, look at how the teacher gives instructions and look at what they're doing there. Take notes on it, reflect on it, exchange ideas with other people. You may look at how they put people into groups, about how they teach a particular skill, how they do a type of activity for speaking, for example. Some of those would be live, sitting in a lesson yourself. Some may be on video. You have supervised planning of lessons. So for your own teaching practice, your trainers will supervise you in your planning of those lessons, advise you to a certain extent on what they think is likely to work, what might be successful, and guide you towards suitable materials if needed. You always have 6 hours of assessed teaching practice during the course, where you are observed by your trainer, who will give you feedback and grade you on the standard of your teaching in that lesson. In most courses, that's divided into 8 actual lessons, starting at the beginning of the course with a fairly short segment, usually about 15 minutes, and then building towards longer lessons as you go through the course. So you start to get into the classroom very early on in your course, and then develop it through from there. Your lessons are watched by the trainer, who gives you the feedback and assesses you, but they're also watched by your fellow trainees. So when you're on the course, you watch all of the teaching practice lessons of your teaching practice group, which is normally 6 people. You watch them do their lessons and you give them feedback as well, and the same for yourself. So as a group, you tend to work very closely together. They often develop these teaching practice groups develop very close bonds and work very well together, because you're supporting each other, you're giving each other feedback and suggesting perhaps what went very, very well in a lesson, how something could have been done a little bit differently or a little bit better. And you get this feedback. So as I said, a cycle of practice and feedback and suggestions and development. You also have tutorial support from your course trainers. So you have a minimum of 2 one-to-one tutorial sessions with your course trainer during the course. Often more. You can talk to your trainers much more frequently than that, but you have 2 formal tutorial sessions, sometimes 3 during a course. So that's kind of the heart of what a CELTA course includes. And later on this afternoon, you'll hear more about people's experience of that and how it works in practice. So the course covers 5 broad topics, which are learners and teachers and the teaching and learning context. So about how people learn languages, how languages are taught and acquired. Language analysis and awareness, so looking at the details of how language works, how English works, and analysing that and how to describe it. Looking at the different skills, the 4 skills, reading, listening, speaking, and writing, and how they can be developed. Planning and resources for different teaching contexts, so looking at how you plan lessons, what resources you can use, how to use course books, how to create your own materials, developing a basic level of critical ability around teaching materials, and developing your teaching skills obviously is the central part of the course, and professionalism as well, sort of professional behaviours. How will you be assessed? So on a CELTA course, the assessment takes place throughout the course. So from very early on, as I mentioned, you usually start doing your first teaching practice in the early part of the course, right near the beginning, and you're assessed right then. And then your assessment is on the progress that you make throughout the course. So during your 8 teaching practice sessions, you're given advice, you're supported, and you're expected to make improvements on the areas where trainers have identified that there's room for improvement. And most people will see a great deal of improvement during the course. So the assessments on all of those 6 hours of teaching practice that you do during the course. Often you'll be given the opportunity to do an unassessed teaching practice as well, to just do some more free practice without having the pressure of assessment. But 6 hours of teaching practice will be assessed. During the course, you also do 4 written assignments. In some cases 3, where 2 of the assignments are put together, but generally there are 4 written assignments that you produce during the course as well, on very particular aspects. So you're told what the topics will be, and you work on those, roughly 1 for each quarter of the course. 1 in each week of the course if you're doing an intensive 4-week course. And the results. To get your CELTA certificate, then you need to pass both aspects, the teaching practice and the assignments, the written assignments. They're all graded, and then the grades are combined, and there are 3 passing grades: Pass A, Pass B, and Pass. Of course, it's possible to fail a CELTA course. Not that many people do, generally speaking. When people complete the course, they'll get at least a pass. The majority of people are in the pass band, smaller number in Pass B, and only a small number really get a Pass A, which is it's very demanding. How can you take a CELTA course? So the minimum requirements: you need to be 18 years old or over. So that's absolute minimum. Some centres may apply slightly different criteria, slightly more demanding criteria, but these are the minimum criteria. You have to be 18 years old or over. You have to have a standard of education that would allow you to enter higher education, so the kind of upper secondary qualification that you would need to go to a university or college. And your English level should be at least a very high C1 or C2, so a very high level of English fluency. That's not assessed through a test. You can provide evidence. Sometimes you're asked to provide a certificate to evidence that, but that's not a requirement. Your level of English is assessed by your trainers during the application process. Generally, when you're applying to a course, there'll be an application form where you complete various tasks evidencing your knowledge of English, of language, your ideas about teaching. And the trainers use that and an interview as well to judge your level of English. So to take a CELTA course, you need to find an authorised centre. So an authorised CELTA centre is one which is entitled to run CELTA courses. And if you go on our Cambridge English website, you'll be able to find a teaching qualification centre, choose your location, Russia, and then you'll see a list of the CELTA centres that are available. And, oh, sorry, I've gone a bit wrong there. What have I done wrong? Not sure how I did that. It's all gone a bit wrong. Let me get that back. There we are. So that was a bit easier to read like that. So there is the list of current CELTA centres in 5 cities across Russia. Of course, with online delivery, you don't have to be present in the city. So if you're taking the course as 100% online, you can take it from anywhere through one of these centres. So one of the centres will be able to arrange a course for you regardless of where you are. If you want to do a face-to-face course, of course, you do need to go to the centre. So at the moment, as I said, we're still using temporary kind of adjustments which allow full online delivery of courses. But from July this year, we're moving to making that a permanent feature of CELTA, and there'll be 3 different ways that you can take CELTA. And the mode on the left is the type of course, and that really refers to the way that the teaching practice takes place. So the first one, a face-to-face CELTA, is with teaching practice which is delivered face-to-face in the classroom with groups of learners and observed by your trainer, who is also in the classroom, the physical classroom with you. The training sessions may be face-to-face, but they could be a combination of online and face-to-face as well, with trainer support. So it's really face-to-face is the teaching practice taking place in a classroom. Online, your teaching practice will all be in an online learning environment. So all of your teaching practice will be done online with groups of learners studying online. Your trainer will observe the lesson live, but they will also be online, of course. Your training will generally be online as well. It will combine synchronous and asynchronous sessions, and you'll have trainer support as well. And finally, a mix of face-to-face and online, where you do some of your lessons, your teaching practice lessons, face-to-face in the classroom, and some of your lessons in an online learning environment. So it combines both, so you get practice in doing both. Which one you choose depends, of course, on your circumstances, what your preference is, and to an extent, what kind of teaching you want to do in the future. So if you are certain that you want to teach online rather than in a face-to-face classroom, then online is probably the best option for you. If you definitely want to teach face-to-face, then face-to-face is probably the best option for you. But in that case, you need to be somewhere near a centre or travel to attend a course at a centre. So there are lots of options of how you can take your course and where you can take the course. It's available locally, so in more than 350 authorised centres around the world in more than 80 countries with over 1,200 courses a year. There are no fixed dates. The centres choose the dates when they run courses, and they can be run in multiple different ways of different lengths. So courses can be full-time, usually over 4 to 5 weeks, an intensive course, and whichever type of course you take, whether it's the online, the face-to-face, or the mix, it can be done intensively. Or you can take a part-time course, which could be over 2 to 3 months or up to a year. So it's quite a range of different formats. Intensive is still a very popular way to do it because it does it very quickly. You develop your skills very quickly. You work very closely with your colleagues on the course and with your trainers. But part-time courses, of course, are more practical for many people, and they have other advantages as well, in that because it's part-time, you have more time to reflect, to think about what you're doing, and to try things out. If you're teaching yourself already, you can try things out in the classroom and learn from that experience. So CELTA is the gold standard of teaching qualifications. It's described as an initial teaching qualification, but it can be also as well as for new teachers, it's also for developing communicative teaching skills. It can certainly help you if you're looking to change career, to move into a career as a teacher of English. And if you need to get a recognised qualification, then it's one route to doing that. And through that, it can be a passport to global teaching opportunities, so you can travel, move around. It's available internationally, it's recognised internationally, and can help you to develop your career long term. So, bit of further information, again, on the Cambridge English website. If you go to the CELTA page, you find a link to the CELTA syllabus, which gives you all the details about the content of the course, how it's assessed, etc. There's also a book called The CELTA Course, published by Cambridge University Press, which is used by some centres as the core text on their course, not by all, but by some. And if you're not using it on your course, it's a very good preparation for the course as well. Okay, so that leaves us with 10 minutes to answer any questions that you have. I can see a few questions coming through there. Let me just look in the question box. So Deanna there is asking, could you please tell me the difference between Tesol and CELTA? Tesol is not really a qualification in itself, so there's a lot of confusion about terminology around certifications and courses. TEFL or Tesol are descriptions, really. Like TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language, is the subject, or teaching English to speakers of other languages. CELTA is a course which prepares you to do that. So Tesol isn't really a course as such. It's a description of what you do. There are other courses, of course, as well as CELTA, which you can research for yourselves. Are there any differences? Well, the second question, same answer really, that Tesol doesn't describe a certificate as such. It describes a subject rather than a certificate. And Christina is asking, is it better to take a SelfP or a CELTA? I would say it depends very much on what your situation is. So if we look at the two qualifications, the SelfP and the CELTA, they're for different people, different audiences, really. So SelfP is ideal if you're teaching in a compulsory education setting, if you're teaching large classes, usually monolingual classes. So if you're teaching in a state school in Russia with classes of, say, 30 learners of mixed level, all of them or most of them Russian speakers, then SelfP is probably ideal if you're in a primary school. CELTA is more about teaching smaller groups, because your teaching practice is with groups of 10 or 12 learners generally. It's more oriented towards older teenagers, so people from 16 and above, and adults. And one other key difference, of course, is that for CELTA, you need to have a very high level of English fluency. It's for people with C1, high C1 to C2 proficiency of English, whereas SelfP is more accessible in that people with a lower level of English can take it. So you need a B1 level of English as a minimum for a SelfP or a CELTES. And another question from Christina, can you take CELTA any centre around the world? In practice, yes, you can. You can take a certificate from any centre which offers a fully online course. And some people take Delta without a CELTA certificate. Yes, it's possible. You don't have to have CELTA in order to take a Delta course. You can have an equivalent qualification. So if you come to the session tomorrow afternoon about Delta, you'll learn a lot more about Delta there. But yeah, you need to meet the minimum requirements for Delta, you need a An initial teaching qualification is usually one of the requirements. That doesn't have to be CELTA. It could be other things. It could be your teaching qualification from a teacher training college, for example. CELTA certainly is an ideal preparation, though, and a typical route for teachers is to take CELTA at the beginning, and then a few years later, when they've got more experience, to go on to take the Delta later. Does TKT help? To a certain extent, because it covers a similar range of topics that are in the syllabus for both, but it approaches them in a very different way. So yes, it does help. If you've prepared for TKT, it will give you the groundwork, the framework to take a CELTA course, but it's in a very different format. And Elena is asking 2 questions. Does CELTA course cover teaching grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation? Yes, very much so. CELTA covers teaching all aspects of teaching English. So systems such as grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, as well as skills, speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So it covers all of those within a CELTA course. Does it teach you to work with all levels of students? Yes, it does, and you have to teach at 2 distinct levels within your CELTA course, which are typically a kind of pre-intermediate level and a higher level, such as intermediate or upper intermediate. So it focuses on those areas in the teaching practice, but yes, it can prepare you for any level of student. Will it be easier to take a CELTA if you've done some preparation? Definitely. So any kind of preparation, and if you're already a teacher and you're doing teaching currently, then reading around what you're doing, finding out more, observing other teachers' lessons, getting teachers to observe you, that would be excellent preparation. Reading some sort of course book is useful if you have the time to do that. So a bit of preparation is certainly a good thing. Generally, teachers who have learnt English, so non-native speakers who have learnt English, already have a good level of language awareness and of descriptive knowledge of English, which gives them an advantage over native speakers on the course. But yeah, thinking a bit more about the methodology and reflecting on how you learn languages, how other people have learnt them, how you work with your students, and what your style is as a teacher, if you are a teacher already, is excellent preparation. Do you have to buy that book? No, you don't. You don't have to buy that book. Some centres will set a core book as a part of the course, but not always that one. It can be other books. So you don't have to buy any particular book at the moment. If you talk to your centre, identify a centre that you want to take the course at, then they'll tell you what you should do to prepare. Is CELTA accepted in the USA? It is accepted by many private institutions within the United States. So a lot of private language schools will recognise CELTA. It's accepted by them. Not in public schools, though, in the USA, no. So it depends, and not for immigration purposes. So it depends what you're looking for, really. And Diana, teacher abroad. I go back to my previous answer that the question, does that mean that Tesol doesn't give an opportunity to teach abroad? It depends what you mean by Tesol. As I say, Tesol is not a certificate as such, and there are some courses which include Tesol in their name, but it depends which course you're talking about. So any other questions you'd like to ask in the last couple of minutes? Just looking in the chat box, there are a couple of questions there. Someone's asking about CELTA Young Learners. Is it available? There isn't a Young Learner version of CELTA. So CELTA is just the one course. There's no variants of it. Is TKT popular only in Russia? No, it's popular in many countries, in fact. But the biggest countries for taking TKT include Mexico, China, where else? Turkey, India, various others. Will this online format provided by centres after the end of COVID? Yes, it will. So as I mentioned, we've now said that will continue as a permanent option for taking CELTA. So it can be taken that way at any time. And apart from the question about what's different from Granite, between CELTA and SelfP and CELTS, as well as the English language knowledge. So other things, the age of the learners. So primary, it's with primary learners, of course, secondary with secondary learners, whereas CELTA focuses more on older teenagers and adults. The other difference is, as I mentioned, CELTA is more for teaching smaller groups, whereas SelfP, CELTS assume that you're teaching a larger group of students who are monolingual, largely monolingual groups in a state school setting, possibly at lower levels. So it's more suited to people teaching in compulsory education or in private education, but in private compulsory education, I should say. And final question about Train the Trainer from Elena is Train the Trainer. What's the difference between CELTA and the Train the Trainer course? So CELTA is a course about improving your teaching, improving your skills as a teacher of English. Train the Trainer is about developing your skills in training other people to be teachers of English. So usually to do a Train the Trainer course, you need to have several years of experience. You need to have a qualification like CELTA or Delta, perhaps, ideally, before you take the Train the Trainer course. And then the Train the Trainer course gives you, extends your skills as a trainer in supporting other people in their development and helping them to develop. Okay, I think we're kind of out of time there. So, Julia, I shall hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for answering all the questions.
Not at all.
It was a pleasure to see you here today, and see you tomorrow. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you to everybody for listening, taking part, and for all your questions. I hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Okay, so now I'm happy to introduce Anna Kasheva. Anna Kasheva is a teacher trainer and Cambridge Assessment English presenter. Anna, hello Anna, how are you today?
Julia.
Good, wonderful. So I've just uploaded your presentation, and now let's talk about what a typical CELTA course is. I think that it will be an exciting session. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, that's amazing. Hello, everyone. Let's check the sound, please. Could you type in pluses in the chat box if you can hear me well? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye, Elena. Yeah, all right. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Great. Okay. So it looks like we are tech savvy and we can continue. So thanks to Tim, we know now what CELTA is like in general and the requirements of CELTA and how to apply and take the course and which modes to choose. I'll go over some of the things he has already mentioned, and I'll look at all of the things from a different perspective as a teacher trainer who delivers a variety of CELTA courses at our center. Yeah. So let's get started. Well, first of all, just to clarify that CELTA used to be an acronym. Yeah, many years ago it was like each letter would mean something, like certificate in English language teaching to adults, right? Now it's no longer true, obviously, and now CELTA is an initial qualification for all teachers, teaching English to speakers of other languages. So that's the first thing I wanted to highlight. So if you work with primary school children or secondary school children, you can be interested in taking the course and gaining some hands-on experience that Tim has highlighted as a beneficial component of the course. So CELTA has been designed to give you that practical experience, so that you can give lessons, obviously observe experienced teachers, but also give lessons and get feedback on your teaching. Why many teachers choose to take CELTA? There are some obvious reasons. Well, obviously, because it is internationally recognized, accredited by the University of Cambridge. Sometimes employers ask you to take the course, and that's why you have to do it. But you need to keep in mind that the course is very demanding. It is an intense course, no matter which mode you're going to choose. I'll talk about the modes in a moment, but the course components are more or less the same. The shift might be slightly different because you have to work in different settings. So with CELTA, you can find a job abroad. Many schools ask for CELTA. If you want to apply, so you can actually get better chances if you have CELTA. And what is good about CELTA is appropriate for both inexperienced teachers and those who want to polish some of the techniques and become better aware of the methodologies and just want to try out some of the techniques and boost confidence. During the CELTA course, we are giving a variety of methodology input sessions to help you become aware of the principles and techniques. And that's when you can nick ideas from trainers and start putting them into practice right away. And that's the most important thing, obviously. You will have to plan your lessons and teach real students. As Tim has mentioned, it's going to be synchronous teaching. So you'll be working with real students, like at a real time. Right, so let's have a look at some of the topics that are covered. Well, actually, there are only 5 topics that are covered, but they are general topics, we need to understand the areas and how they are covered during the course. Now, the first area, I guess, is the most important ones. Remember, Tim has shown you common, framework of development, So this is the first area, focus on the learner. We need to understand our learners to be able to give good lessons, and enhance their learning experience and outcomes, of course. So focus on the learner is one of the areas that is covered by a written assignment, which in our center, for example, and I know I've worked for different centers, so in many centers, it is set on the first day of the course. When you see your students for the first time, you start collecting information about them. You take notes, you understand what their background is, what their motivation is likely to be, and why they've come to take the course of study. Based on your findings, of course, you'll have to evaluate their strengths and identify some of the areas they need some help with. And you'll be producing an essay based on that. So this is the most important thing, I think, and that's why we start with that, right? Another component where, of course, focus on the learners is covered is your teaching practice. For each lesson that is going to be assessed, you'll have to produce a lesson plan, And in the lesson plan, when you choose your materials, you can justify the choice of materials, referring to their class profile, needs analysis, and your understanding of the students, yeah, making some assumptions about their preferences. So that's another way of showing your awareness of the learners. And then, of course, when you give a lesson, you'll also be showing, demonstrating how interested you are in what your students are saying, yeah, and responding to them naturally, hopefully. Not treating them like learners, treating them as real people, yeah, in a real life situation. So that's another thing that is highlighted, yeah. Let's move on. So the second topic is language analysis and language awareness. As we know, yeah, you need to be at C1 or preferably C2 level to take CELTA. And that's important for many different reasons. First of all, you need to give a good model, yeah, natural model. And also you need to be able to make some clarification, yeah, highlight some of the most important aspects, dealing with emergent needs, yeah, and just language in general when you teach systems, yeah, when you teach a grammatical structure or a vocabulary item of some kind or functional language, yeah, you'll be clarifying meaning, pronunciation, and some other important aspects. So by doing that, you're demonstrating your language awareness. And for that, of course, we have another assignment, which is called, may be called, yeah, focus on language. Yeah, you will have to analyze some grammatical structures, some vocabulary items, maybe functional language there, right? Also, for each lesson, you'll have to analyze the target language. So, for example, you're given a lesson on reading, right? And you anticipate some linguistic problems. Probably you'll pick up a few words that are really challenging for the students of that particular level you're working with. And you'll be analyzing them to be better prepared for the lesson. The next topic is language skills. Yeah, we can subdivide language skills into receptive and productive. And but you can show your understanding of this area by giving different lessons, of course, yeah, and you have to deliver 8, for example, assessed lessons. Well, you'll have to teach 6 hours, and there will be different types of lessons on skills, on systems, and different, of course, different skills, not only receptive, but productive skills as well. So there is also a written assignment, you might be surprised to hear, with the focus on developing skills. In that assignment, you will have to do research and identify some sub-skills that course book materials, for example, are designed to practice, or you'll have to design your own task, demonstrating the same type of awareness, right, of what language skills are like and how to help your students develop them. So basically, it is designing a lesson on reading, for example, yeah, something like this. The next couple of components are also very important. I have already talked about lesson planning and using resources. Remember, I've just mentioned the third assignment on skills. So you'll have to use teaching resources. You'll be either creating your own teaching materials, or you'll be referring to a course book material and evaluating them, right? Obviously, for each lesson, you'll have to produce a lesson plan, which includes lesson aims, a procedure, a reliable procedure, hopefully detailed and clear, so that other teachers can use your lesson plan and run the same type of lesson. And after each lesson, yeah, you'll have to evaluate on your reflect on your experience and produce your self-evaluation. All of them belong to your portfolio. Yeah, they are lesson planning documents. And finally, developing teaching skills and professionalism is something that you'll be doing throughout the course. Yeah, even before the course starts, you are also demonstrating your understanding that it is important and also your eagerness to become a better teacher. So developing teaching skills and professionalism will be covered in the final assignment on the course. So if you can count well, how many assignments can you count? Yeah, how many assignments are there? You will have to produce during the course. Type in a number in the chat box, please. Anyone? 4, exactly. Thank you very much, Elsa. Absolutely right. There are 4 written assignments, yeah, and 6 hours of teaching practice, yeah. And the topics will be covered throughout the course. Even the input sessions are designed to help you. Now, let's talk a little bit about the modes that CELTA is available in. You can take a face-to-face CELTA, which means basically you have to come to a school, yeah, where you're taking the course, like every day, for example, if it's full-time, yeah, or twice a week if it is part-time, or at the weekend, for example, yeah. And you attend lectures, seminars. Well, they're not likely to be lectures, they're likely to be workshops, different sessions on lesson planning, feedback sessions, and of course you'll have to deliver some lessons there, and it will be done at a school with real students. In this case, you'll be using the physical environment, right? Arranging chairs, furniture in general, yeah, using the whiteboard, maybe cork boards, something else that is there. I don't know, an overhead projector, for example, computers, and some other things. You can use Realia, of course. It is great. You can also take an online course, yeah, and again, obviously, the components are nearly the same. There will be input sessions and so on and so forth, but you don't have to travel, you don't have to commute. You just work from home, attending all their workshops, lesson planning, slots, and so on, and giving lessons online. Now, recently, a mixed mode has been introduced. So the course might have 2 components. Yeah, for example, last year in spring, we were in the middle of our part-time course. It was offline, of course, when the pandemic happened, and due to that situation, we had to finish the course online. Yeah, so half of the course was done offline, yeah, with face-to-face teaching, practice, and input sessions and everything, and then half of the course was done online. We repeated that experience actually because last summer we started running offline courses again. And then I think it was September, October when we started our autumn course, and it happened again. We had to go online and finish the course online. So there was a mixed mode there. And you know, many course participants were very happy about that because they had teaching practice in both modes and they found it very beneficial. So you could try basically everything there. As I have already mentioned, no matter which course you are taking, a face-to-face, an online course, or a mixed mode, it might be either part-time or full-time, right? So for the full-time course, it's usually an intensive course, yeah, which will last for about a month. And for a part-time course, it lasts longer, yeah. So let me just show you what it might be like. So let's consider full-time CELTA course before the pandemic. It used to be a 4-week course quite often, yeah. At the moment, it might be 4 to 5 weeks, yeah. And I know in some centers, actually, they delivered 5-week courses in the past too, just to give you more space between the input sessions, teaching practice, to give you, if you are talking about online courses, it's particularly important because you need some off-screen time to make it more trainee friendly. Yeah, it'll be a bit longer sometimes. Of course, if it is full-time, it means you'll be attending CELTA days, like every day, every working day. And at the weekend, you'll have to finish some of the paperwork and prepare for your lessons and also do research for your assignments. So it requires full-time commitment. It's not recommended to combine it with anything else. And the feedback on the lessons is likely to be delayed because we can do that, right? So we usually hire students in the evening. So our students come at about 6 o'clock in the evening, and then obviously we are tired at the end of a CELTA day, so we can go home right after teaching practice. And then in the afternoon or in the morning, we come back together and start discussing what we've seen yesterday, right? Evaluating the performance of all the teachers, highlighting some good techniques they've used and some of the things that they need to change slightly. So this is a full-time CELTA course. It's likely to be like that. It doesn't have to be though, like the feedback might be on the same day, but that's what we do in our center. As for the part-time CELTA, there are minor differences. Of course, it is longer. Yeah, like yesterday we finished our spring course, which was part-time. We started it in the middle of February, and it lasts for about 10 weeks, and yesterday it was over. It was a Tuesday-Thursday course, and it was very good for those who wanted to continue working at least on some days, right? And we had many teachers, experienced teachers, and they did that basically. So they worked on Mondays and Wednesdays, for example, yeah, but they had to attend our classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then, of course, at the weekend, they could finish some of the things that are very important for the course too. The feedback on part-time CELTA courses is usually immediate. And the reason for that is obvious. If you give a lesson on Thursday and your feedback is just on Tuesday, perhaps you'll forget everything, yeah? And to avoid that, we stay a bit longer at the school, and we discuss things together. So let me show you some of the aspects related to online support, what we do at our center. And I know in many centers it is more or less the same. When you come to the course, yeah, on the first day or maybe even a week before you start the course, you'll be given a link to an online platform where we keep the most important files, information about the course, some documents, templates, yeah, and the folders for your portfolio. So the most important things is to collect your paperwork, yeah, and it'll be built up your portfolio. Your portfolio will consist of some folders with teaching practice. Like in our center, we ask you to deliver 8 lessons, 8 45-minute lessons, yeah, and all of them will be in this folder. And of course, 4 written assignments. Yeah, I can see that you remember the number of assignments. So the assignments will be also collected and kept in that personal folder for each candidate. We are using different types of online platforms. We've been using different learning management systems like Edmodo and Schoology and Moodle. We can actually refer to Cambridge-based Moodle platform that is also available for us. But at the moment, we prefer using Google so that everything can be found in one place. Yeah, Google folders are great. So what you can find there is timetable, teaching practice points, different materials, handouts and slides from our input sessions, and so on and so forth. Everything you need. A typical CELTA course will consist of, well, there might be several course participants there. Like the minimum number of participants in our center, I remember we delivered a course last January and there were only 5 participants. I think we started with 6 of them, but then 1 dropped out somehow. But we also run a variety of big courses, and of course summer is quite popular, yeah, for Teachers like taking CELTA courses in summer because they're free, especially in July. So if you're considering taking CELTA, it's just high time. Anyway, so there will be 12 participants usually, and for each group of 6, there will be a trainer assigned. And if the course is bigger, I remember running a course for 18 participants for BKCH Moscow, then 3 trainers were involved in such a course. Again, each trainer will be responsible for 6 course participants. In some other centers, however, there are bigger courses. Like, for example, once I worked, well, a couple of times I worked for IHSMIR, and their courses are usually 24 with 24 participants. And then 4 trainers are involved in running input sessions. But again, you work with 1 trainer in the first half of the course, and then with another trainer for the second half of the course. It's always like that. As for the students, the requirements are the following. There should be at least 5 students in a group. So there will be a group of students. It's not a one-to-one type of setting, but sometimes attendance is not perfect, and then we have just 5 or 6. Sometimes it's great, especially at the beginning of the course. Yeah, we try to hire as many students as possible, and they might be up to 15 students, for example. Whether it is offline, then we use bigger classrooms, or it is online, then the space is not that important, but it is important to keep in mind how many students you've got so that you can assign them to the breakout rooms, yeah, so that they can work in pairs or in small groups, and this is very important. So I'm going briefly remind you of the course components, yeah, and there will be 120 contact hours, which includes input sessions, lesson planning slots, different types of tutorials, video observations perhaps, and experienced teacher observations in general, and also teaching practice itself, right? There will be also quite a lot of work in between CELTA days, in the morning, in the evening, and at the weekend for sure, to prepare for lessons, to look through the materials from the input sessions, to brush up on different types of methodologies, and do research. Yeah, you'll have to do research for your assignments and for your lessons as well, hopefully producing good quality paperwork. Yes, that's quite demanding. The rigors of the course are very high, yeah, so you need to be aware of that. So let's have a look at a typical timetable, what a typical day on CELTA might be like, yeah? So with full-time courses, yeah, the timetable usually is like this. We start at about 12, and we have 2 input sessions. You can see at 2:15 and 4:30, there are 2 input sessions. They are designed to help you become aware of different principles, methodology in general, different techniques that we want you to use later on, and language awareness too. So, for example, at the beginning of the course, we really want to help you become aware of how to communicate, interact with the learners, how to group them, which tools to use for that, how to use the whiteboard and create whiteboard prompts that are really helpful, or how to make use of PowerPoint or Zoom chat box, for example, yeah? So depending on the mode, there will be a variety of input sessions, of course. The topics are the same, like classroom management, for example, giving instructions, yeah, grouping students, yeah, making sure that there is a right balance of teacher-led and student-centered activities. But in different modes, the techniques might be slightly different. Then, as you can see, we usually start with a feedback on teaching on the previous day, yeah? And we finish with teaching practice. So that's a kind of cycle. Teaching practice first, and then feedback on the following day. there are a couple of slots for guided lesson preparation. The first one is when you can take a seat with your trainer and usually your peers who you're working with, like 3 of you will be working together, delivering the same lesson. So probably you'll come together and discuss what you need to do. And the trainer will guide you and prompt you how you can improve your lessons and involve the learners. The second lesson planning slot is likely to be for you to prepare the materials, to build confidence, what you have to say and how to do that, whether you need to make any printouts, especially if it is an offline course, I guess it'll be useful, and so on. If you need to talk to a trainer, of course, we are always eager to help and we are available at that time too. Yes, and in the middle, of course, there is a lunch break. So this is our full-time course, which used to be delivered only offline, but now it can be done online too. I'll talk about the changes in a moment. Let's have a look at the part-time course and compare the timetable for full-time course and for a part-time course. So what changes can you see? Have a look. So probably, yeah, you might have noticed that we start a bit later. We start at about 1 p.m. and we finish a bit later with the feedback done after teaching practice. And again, it's a practical thing that we've decided to do that because we often forget what we've seen, and obviously our trainees can forget what they did in that particular lesson, yeah, if they come in 5 weeks' time, so for example. The reason for starting a CELTA day quite late, like at about 1, is quite straightforward. We can find a lot of students in the evening, those who come after work, yeah, they attend our classes, and that's why the attendance is better in the evening. It has always been like that. We always hire our students in the evening, and that's why we shift towards the evening, so that you have a morning free of CELTA, or maybe you can plan ahead what you'll have to do next. Yeah. If we compare full-time and part-time timetable to what happens online, yeah, the timetable will stay nearly the same. But there will be some gaps in between the input sessions, perhaps. There will be a break after guided lesson preparation. Yeah, there will be a longer break, not just 15 minutes maybe. And there will be, this lesson preparation is likely to be shorter. Yeah, we'll stay with you in the afternoon for a longer period of time if necessary. And you can try out some of the techniques, something that you'll be doing in the evening with us, with peers, and it'll help you become more confident, right? So what I'm saying is we may start a bit earlier at 12, at 11, right? But we'll finish at about the same time, but there will be more breaks, off-screen time, giving you off-screen time. Right? And sometimes we just reduce the number of inputs to give you that off-screen time if necessary. Now, let me just highlight a few things related to the input sessions. Remember, I've told you that all of the input sessions are designed to help you develop your teaching skills. And all of the topical areas are presented in the input sessions. So remember, focus on the learner. Of course, there is an input session on that. It'll help you become better aware of what the first written assignment requires, and also what information you need to collect about the learners and how to make use of that information in the future. Classroom management, something which is essential, especially at the beginning of the course when you start working with new group of students. And further on, something else related to skills, related to systems, grammar, how to teach vocabulary, and so on and so forth. So all of them will be here. The topics of the input session, of a particular input session, actually are different, are slightly different from center to center. But the areas are still the same. There are 5 topical areas we need to cover, and we do that. The reasons for giving, for example, an input on the lexical approach or guided discovery is that we have quite a lot of experienced teachers, and we want to pitch the level of our inputs to meet their needs. In some centers, if you take CELTA abroad, for example, where there are a lot of inexperienced teachers and they need more input on language awareness, there will be more of that, like how to teach, I don't know, the present perfect, yeah, or how to deal with some other aspects. Right, now many candidates come to the course with some questions, yeah, and here are some of the questions. So type in a plus if you can already answer all of the questions, because I've mentioned them briefly. So do I have to write a lesson plan? Well, yes, you will have to produce a lesson plan for each assessed lesson. How can I benefit from observing peers? Well, instead of just referring to your teaching practice, yeah, relying on your experience, you can also see what other teachers do, and you can learn by being exposed to their creative ideas, their techniques, and hopefully you can share something with them, and then you'll be using them more consciously. Do we have to use a course book? Yes and no. At the beginning of the course, usually you are given quite strict guidelines what to use, which materials to use, which course book to refer to, and so on. But towards the end of the course, you're given more freedom, which materials you can choose. And if you're ready for that, you can you can design your own materials. Not for the sake of designing them, of course, but because you know how to improve something that you've got. The assessment criteria, the assessment criteria will be highlighted for you at the beginning of the course. You'll get a booklet, which is called CELTA 5 at the very beginning of the course. And at the back of the booklet, you can see the list of the criteria. There are very many criteria there. I'm not going to list them all, but the topical areas are the same. Remember, focus on the learner, understanding your learner's needs, lesson planning, thorough preparation, detailed procedures, language analysis, and then classroom management techniques of different kinds. What support will be given? I'll talk about the support in a moment, but basically you are given a lot of support. At the very beginning of the course, you'll get a lot of information what to do and how to do. What paperwork you have to deal with? Well, basically you have to build up your portfolio, which consists of your teaching practice materials and written assignments. Right. Now, what support is given? At the beginning of the course, we run an induction and orientation to help you understand how to use online tools that we'll be using. We'll be sending you some instructions how to use Google or Zoom or something else, whatever we are using. And of course, at the beginning of the course, we are sort of going over the whole thing and show you what to do there. The input sessions themselves are designed to help you, to give you support. Guided lesson planning is something that, again, is very helpful. Of course, you come with some ideas what you want to do, but the trainer will guide you and help you understand what is better, what is more efficient and effective. And that's how probably you can improve your lessons. Or you try out what you want to do, and then you'll be given feedback on that. Experienced teachers' observations. On the first day of the course, you don't give a lesson yourselves, but you watch others, you watch your trainers giving lessons to a group of students, and you can take notes and then ask them questions if you don't understand some of the aspects. But this is a great experience because you can see the group of students you'll have to work with later on. Then in the middle of the course, we give tutorials. It's a personal meeting, a one-to-one meeting when we discuss all the problems, issues, highlight your achievements. It's basically to see whether we are on the same page and also help you develop, of course, in the future. And we also have a system of mentors, people who are CELTA graduates, and they come to support you too. So let me just briefly highlight different support that we give before the course, during the course, and after the course. So before the course, during the application process, you become better aware what aspects might be on the course, yeah, something that you have to deal with. And also when you are invited for the interview, yeah, you can ask questions, and the trainer will clarify some of the components and aspects that you don't understand. You'll be given some information about the learning management system or online platform you'll be using. And of course, there will be some suggestions and life hacks from the previous courses based on our experience. During the course, we use a variety of visuals for you. Now with online settings, it's quite easy to do. You can find all the prompts in the Google folder. And you can find different sample lesson plans, materials, posters, sessions, and of course our mentors are also very helpful. They come to inspire you and give you support during the course. And after the course, you are free to stay in touch, and hopefully we'll be in touch. And then you can be invited to different events that we run, like our conferences or our trainings, and you can become a mentor yourself to continue working among like-minded people. Now, I've mentioned some visual aids that we use, and you can see here quite a few examples, like a poster that we've created with my summer course, highlighting the most important aspect they've learned. Like each day I ask them to contribute to that poster and add a detail what they've learned, like task-based learning, for example, or repetition is important, or some other things, yeah. Here you can see the whiteboard work from the input session on classroom management, and you can see that we've been discussing classroom language. We've talked about interaction patterns, how to set up activities in a good way, and other things. So you'll find all the photos and booklets on Google Drive. And also, if we encourage you to use some online tools. We give you some instructions how to use, for example, in this case, Google Jamboard. We give you different observation tasks, and to make it more creative, we encourage you sometimes to produce a picture based on your findings. Sometimes, of course, you fill in a grid, or it might be a table, or you just answer questions. Sometimes we ask you to contribute to the chart, where you can post comments, yeah, what you've seen, what you've noticed, and what questions you can ask that teacher. So those observation tasks are very beneficial, and our trainees are very happy doing them usually. I've mentioned that we often give you support at the beginning of the course by showing you what CELTA graduates share, yeah, about their experience. So we show their tips at the beginning of the course, and that's how you can continue this journey, yeah, with better results, of course. Now, the benefits of taking CELTA are many, and perhaps you're already wondering why you haven't started the application process yet. Most teachers enjoy this experience, but of course that depends on your attitude. You need to be open-minded. And you can make friends and find a lot of like-minded teachers, people in general, yeah, and you can get a lot of tips and techniques, useful strategies from your colleagues. Many of our CELTA graduates highlight the benefits of the course. As you can see, one of my trainees here posted this. She became more aware of different techniques and principles, and now she's using the techniques consciously, and this is amazing. I think Tim already mentioned the requirements. I'm going to briefly comment on that. Yeah, we would recommend you to be over 20 years old, to be more mature for this experience because it's very demanding. But the other aspects are the same. So to do that, yeah, to apply for the course, you can find out about the requirements on the website, Cambridge website. I think you have already got the link from Julia, yeah, in the chat box. Make sure your level of English is good enough. Yeah, perhaps you can consider taking TKT just to brush up on your understanding of the terminology, yeah. And of course, there are plenty of articles on the internet about how to take CELTA, what to do, and how not to fail it, or how to pass it with flying colors. Yeah, there are many CELTA graduates who are bloggers, and you can find quite a lot of blogs there around. So if you go to our website, you will find the application form, which you have to submit, and then you'll be invited for an interview. And after that, you can ask questions, and obviously you'll be accepted, I'm sure, because you're full of awesome, right? So you may be asked actually to take a language test or a language awareness test if necessary, but that's not scary at all. So join our programs. You can see we are running offline and online courses, and actually not only CELTA courses, a great variety of other courses. So feel free to go to bkc.ru website, find CELTA qualification there, and start the application process. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Let's have a look. Okay, so in terms of the certificates, Daria, thank you, Diana, thank you for the question. There are no differences. In fact, whatever the course you are taking, it will say CELTA, yeah, pass, or pass B, or pass A, yeah, and that's the only thing you can see on the certificate. In our provisional reports, we usually highlight if there was online practice. It was particularly important, yeah, last year. Now it is, I think it is becoming less important, but it's fair to highlight that the trainees coped well with the technical challenges. Yeah, we do provide accommodation, but I don't know much about that. You need to get in touch with our managers. In terms of the price, again, please get in touch with our managers. They are better aware of the procedures and the prices, of course. Okay, Sergey, yes, that's what teachers are like. Yeah, exactly. A lot of female teachers. Is CELTA course going to be helpful for one-to-one teaching? Yes, yes, I think so, because CELTA is an initial qualification. It was designed as an initial qualification, and now, of course, it became so popular. Many experienced teachers take it, and we, of course, we try to meet the needs of our experienced candidates. As to one-to-one, the techniques are nearly the same. Like, you need to understand methodology, your learner's needs. Yeah, you need to be able to collect information about them. There will be lessons on skills and systems, right? And of course, we help you develop professionally in general. There is a special course which is called Teaching One-to-One. You might be interested in, but the initial requirement is CELTA. So you need to be CELTA qualified to take that course usually. Yeah, between Delta and CELTA, you mean? Well, CELTA and Delta are just of different levels. CELTA is an initial qualification, and Delta is for experienced teachers. You can take Delta after your initial qualification and after a couple of years of teaching at least. And we prefer to take candidates with some experience in teaching different teaching contexts, different classes like intensive classes, exam preparation, general English kids, different types of classes. It'll help you better. Technically, you can take Delta without being CELTA qualified. Yeah, if you have maybe a degree in teaching from a Russian university, you can try Delta. Well, think about taking Delta Model 1 because it's an exam. If you are successful there, then obviously you can apply for other models. To be honest, in my company, what you're asking me about CELTA, SelfP, yeah. In my company, we used to hire teachers with CELTA qualifications, yeah, because we want teachers to be universally qualified, yeah, and they can work with different types of students, not only kids or only secondary school children, yeah, teenagers. So if you're interested in getting qualification with young learners, yeah, there are many different ways of getting that. There is a fantastic certificate in teaching young learners from International House. Yeah, we used to run it in June, and I think this June it is going to happen again. And there are also Trinity College courses, yeah, on teaching young learners, which is similar to that. So yeah, that. Okay. I can't see. Oh yeah, one more question. Yes. Okay. So Yelena, thank you for the question about Delta. Now, just to clarify that here briefly, CELTA is available online. Delta is. I'm not so sure they're going to continue this practice of running Delta online, but they let us finish the course last year. Well, I'm saying us because I work for the school, yeah, but our trainers who ran Delta last year, they started Delta like in spring or even the winter, and then due to the situation, they couldn't continue. And Cambridge let them continue just this November, when they finished with teaching practice and distance assessment. Yeah, there was distance observation of the final lesson, which is the most important ingredient of the course, of course. So if they're going to let us run online Deltas, of course, Delta will be more available for different people. Is low C1 reasonable to apply for the course? I don't know how low C1 you've got, but to be honest, give it a go. Just try it out. Why not? So if you don't have an international certificate, yeah, you just, when you apply for the course, you'll be asked to take a test. If the test is successfully done, then what's the problem? Of course, you'll be accepted. CELTA will be run online in the future, yes. They just informed us about that. Yeah, it is going to happen. And we are very happy about that because, you know, it opens borders. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Okay, I think I've run out a little bit. Yulia, would you like me to stop?
Thank you, Anna, very much for this presentation. Thanks for answering all the questions. And now let's move to CELTA graduates, teachers, CELTA qualified teachers, those who finished the course and got the international certificate. So there are so many nice words in the chat. So I'm really, really happy to welcome and introduce Artem Morozov. Artem is a teacher and teacher trainer, and today we would like to listen to Artem's experience to find out more about how CELTA changed his life. Hello, Artem.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be here, to be a part of this event. And yes, I'm here today to speak about my CELTA experience, why I decided to take a CELTA course. And if you can hear me well, can you guys please say something in the chat, like, hello, Artyom, nice to see you. Hello, Olga. Hello, Sergey. Hello, hello. Well, yes. Yeah, I can see a lot of, yes, hello, guys. Hello, hello. A lot of pluses in the chat. Well, then let's begin. I decided to take my CELTA course in Berlin. It's in Germany, because I thought that, well, first of all, it was a part of my CPD plan. I am planning to apply for Delta later, and usually it is a requirement. You need to have a CELTA certificate to apply for Delta. So that's why I decided to take a CELTA course. So, but I also wanted to get inspired to learn some new ideas, to get acquainted with new people. And Berlin is also famous for its sites, beautiful parks, museums, theaters. I thought that when I'm done with my work in the mornings, I'll be able to go for a walk with my friends. And I was so wrong. I was so wrong. There was no time. I was overloaded with this paperwork, filling out forms, written assignments, reading books. And at first I was a bit upset that I have to spend so much time doing this paperwork. But then when my teaching practice started, I realized that it was actually helping me to go through this teaching practice, and I was learning something when I was filling out all those forms ultimately. So the written assignments are hard, and you will have to spend a lot of time doing this. We usually had 2 input sessions in the morning, and then in the afternoon we had some time to work with our tutors on our lesson plans. We could discuss our lesson plans with the tutors, and then we had teaching practice. And in the evenings, the schedule said free time. It was not free time. It was we had to work on our next assignment and prepare for the next day. So I literally had 0 time to go for a walk, and maybe at weekends I had the chance to go to a museum or somewhere, but most of the time I spent there was basically working and studying. So if you consider going somewhere to go through CELTA, well, it's not like the best sightseeing experience, honestly. Well, yes, and then this teaching practice is also quite stressful, I think, especially for people who are shy, like me. You are observed by your colleagues, like 10, 15 people are watching you work. And then there's a CELTA tutor who is sitting in the corner and writing something, taking some notes. And this is this is so scary. But this is something I was looking forward to. This is something I wanted the most, to be evaluated, to get this honest feedback from some qualified tutors who can really analyze my lesson plans with scrutiny. It's not the same as we do this. We invite people to our classes. I often invite my colleagues to take a look at my lessons, to tell me what I'm doing wrong, and sometimes you just can't see what you are doing wrong. And this was very, very helpful and valuable, and but stressful and difficult for many participants. This was one of the most difficult things to teach when you are observed. When I came to my CELTA center, the tutors showed us around what equipment we have, what books we have in the library. They just showed us around, and I was taken aback by the lack of equipment they had in the center. Because in my school where I used to work at that time, we had lots of equipment like IQ boards, projectors, wireless printers, box games and everything. They had none of this, nothing. They had computers though, and the computers looked like this. You can see the picture on the slide. And there were 3 computers. Well, you could use them if you wanted to. There was a printer and there was a television. If you wanted to use the television, you had to drag it from one classroom to another classroom. And I was worried. I thought that maybe I would not be able to teach as effectively as you know, I'm used to. But then when our teaching practice started and I had the chance to take a look at my tutors teaching, I was amazed how brilliant they were. And they literally had just hands, a marker and a board, and that's all. That's all you basically need to teach. And maybe, well, this was my first insight that to actually teach, you don't really need much. You just need yourself and a board and the students, obviously. Well, that's all. That's all. If you cannot do this, well, then maybe you should go through a CELTA course to learn doing this. Because all the realia, all this fancy stuff, it is nice to have it in your school, but at first you need to learn the basics, hardcore, old school, just you and the board. And my second biggest insight was that teaching grammar or vocabulary isn't really our job as teachers. It's not what we are supposed to do. Yes, our students should know the grammar, they should know the vocabulary and so on, but this is not our main job, not our main goal. Our main goal is to teach our students to communicate with each other, with the world, with you. Communication, learning to speak English. That's what they need to do, not learning grammar or vocabulary. And if your book says present perfect, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to think about teaching present perfect. How will I teach present perfect to my students? This is not what you start with, but you start with why your students will need present perfect. Why? In what situation will my students use present perfect? And you would basically try to imagine a situation, and then you will think which functions of present perfect your students will need in this particular situation, and then you will plan your lesson based on that. And yes, insight number 3 is that your book is not the Bible. It's a good tool. You need a course book and it can help you in your teaching, but it's not the Bible. You don't have to. Our job is not to teach the book. Our job, again, is to teach our students to speak English. So that's what we do. And naturally, I got many more insights from the course. But if I spoke about every single thing, I think I would have to. I would need much more time for that. Yes, the course is interesting and hard. It is hard, especially hard for non-native speakers. And I know what I'm talking about. I was very lucky. Everybody in my group was a native speaker. I had many people from Great Britain. Some of them were from the United States. And I was the only person who was a non-native speaker. And this was a bit tough. I felt inferior all the time because naturally my level of English could not. I was worried about my accent, about my grammar, about my everything, everything. They listened to. I talked to them, and this was terrible. This linguistic barrier. When I was preparing for my teaching practice, I had to check twice, 3 times, 4 times, 7 times before I finally decided on the explanation I would use in the classroom later. It's just because I wasn't a native speaker, and but I don't think that this was a disadvantage. I think this was a benefit. If you just think about this, if you wanted to take an English speaking course, a course in English, C1 or C2 course with that many hours, I think it would cost much more. And here everything is in English. Reading, listening, speaking, the input sessions are in English. And yes, after this month, I realized that the level of my English has increased dramatically. Just from this point of view, it's worth it's worth going through a CELTA course. And as non-native speakers, I think we also have the benefit of knowing all the meta language. We learned we studied English. We learned it from scratch, and we know the names of different parts of speech. We know how to the difficulties which will occur while learning new vocabulary or new grammar. So I think that we, as non-native speakers, understand our students better, and we can cater to their needs better. My native speaker colleagues all had great problems with understanding that present perfect can be challenging to understand. For example, if we speak about present perfect. And I was also lucky that my students were all of different, they were from different cultures, from different countries, and this multicultural environment was amazing. I managed to look at a different grammar and different vocabulary from a different angle, because German people have completely different problems with the language actually sometimes. And this was a very interesting experience, honestly. So it can be hard if you are a non-native speaker, but we also have some benefits. When is it time to do your CELTA? How do you know that it's time to do your CELTA? Well, it's a very difficult question, I think. There is a saying that no wind is favorable if you don't know where you are going. So before considering whether you should apply for a CELTA course or not, think about your life goals. Where are you going? What do you want to do with the certificate afterwards? Because honestly, most of the employers in Russia will not ask you to provide this certificate, and you will be able to find a job as an English teacher without CELTA, and you'll probably not even need CAE or CPE certificates for that. But if you want to find a better job with better conditions, with higher salary, if you want to work in an international team, if you want to work in a big international company, you're very likely to need this certificate. Well, at least it will be a huge bonus for your resume. And if you are planning to work somewhere else, not in Russia, in another country, you should do this. You should do your CELTA. If you are going to China, if you're going to Thailand, this certificate will be internationally recognized. One of my friends managed to somehow find a job in the United States, and he's Russian, and he has a CELTA certificate, and he somehow managed to find a teaching job there. So you see, even in the United States, they recognize this certificate. So, well, but it's not for your students, perhaps this will also, they will probably not be impressed with this certificate. Most of them sincerely don't know anything about CELTA. So they'll probably not be impressed if you say that you have a CELTA certificate, but I'm sure that your teaching style will change and they will notice the differences in your teaching, and you're very likely to come back a completely different person, a completely different teacher, and well, your students will benefit from this anyways. And I think this course can be beneficial for any kind of teacher. If you are an experienced teacher, you have very little teaching experience, you can learn something from the course. You will get the skills and the skills and the techniques necessary. You will be able to use these skills and techniques later to teach students, to work as a teacher. If you are an experienced teacher, you will be able to look at your teaching from a different angle, to broaden your mind, to learn new approaches to teaching. If you are a director of studies in a language center, you will also be able to benefit, because you will take a look at a system of teaching teachers, and then you'll be able to apply the same system to training your employees in your language center. So it doesn't matter, your experience probably doesn't matter here, but the approach matters. You know, some teachers go to different conferences, they go to seminars, they go to webinars, but they never learn anything because their cup is full. When the cup is full, you can't pour anything into this cup. It's just not possible. You first need to empty the cup to pour something new in it. So these teachers, they already know, they think they know how to teach better. They know everything better. And when they come to the seminar, they are not learning anything. There are other teachers who are open, who can open up to new things, who are ready to take this new information, who wants to be inspired, who wants to learn something. And these kind of people learn everywhere, not just in seminars, webinars, everywhere. So, well, if you are the second kind of person, then CELTA will give you a lot. And yes, I think that today, unfortunately, I can't tell you about everything I experienced during the course, but if you have questions, I think I would be happy to answer some of your questions. You can type them in the chat, or I know that there is a section with questions. Let me see. Not yet. Well, you can use the chat then, and if you have questions about the course, I'll be happy to answer the questions now. Or you can also drop me a message on Vkontakte or send me an email. I'll be glad to help if I can. So yeah, I can't see any questions in the chat. In the question section, there are no questions yet. Sergey is saying encouraging. Thank you, Sergey. Thank you. Olga is saying, why did you choose Berlin? Yeah, it's a strange choice, I think, but it's just my second language is German, and I have friends there, and I have an apartment there, so I thought, why not? The price was approximately the same, so I decided to go to Berlin. But I'm sure that I'm very confident that in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, in Rostov, whenever you are now, you can get the same kind of quality. The course will be of the same quality and probably, as Anna said, it will be more how can I put it in English? So it will. We do have more experienced teachers in Russia, and I know that CELTA courses in Russia are a bit more advanced than courses abroad, and I can confirm this officially that it's true. Yes, thank you, Zara. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Nina. Delta, I'm planning to do Delta this summer, and I think Julia might correct me, but I think Delta, we will talk about Delta tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the day, the Delta day. Okay, Ines is saying thank you, Ines. Nina, thank you for coming. Thanks. So yes, guys, if you have questions about the course, if I know the answer, just ask me, send me a message, and I'll try to help if I can, of course. Okay, well then, thank you, Elena. Thank you for sharing.
There is one question in the question box that I've just noticed. Did you take a full-time or a part-time course?
I decided to take a full-time course. It was 1 month, and I decided to take the full-time course because I thought that for me it's much easier, you know, to it was in autumn, and I was able to stop teaching for a month, but for some people it's impossible, so that's why they choose the part-time course. You can combine it with work, so you can work in the morning and then you can study in the evening. Yeah, for some people it might be more convenient, I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your response. There is another question. Is it better to be prepared specifically for CELTA in advance?
You can't prepare. Well, you might want to ask your CELTA tutors or the center where you will be taking CELTA to provide you with the list of books and things you will need to read before the course. But it's not an exam, it's a course where you learn and then you teach. So it's a very practical course. It's not an exam where it's not like CAE when you prepare and then you take the test. So the course itself is preparation. So you can't prepare, I think. You can study English and speak well, then apply. You can apply today. I think you will be lucky. You will be accepted.
Yes, sure. So I will share the list of our CELTA centers in Russia, and the previous presenter, speaker Anna Kasheva, represents BKCIH, one of the maybe most popular teacher training center in Russia. And so please check the schedule and apply. I'm sure that you will enjoy this course, and this is really a great experience. Thank you, Artem. Thank you for sharing your story. That was really great to listen to you, to find out what you think about CELTA course and how it changed your life. Thank you for joining us today. And now let's move to another CELTA graduate. We have Elika Prasolova today here with us. Elika took her CELTA course in Moscow, and I would like to invite Elika to share her personal experience and tell us her story, how CELTA changed her life, and how was it? Elika, hello. Are you here with us? Please go on air.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hello. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Okay. Yeah, so I want to tell you my CELTA story. So I took my CELTA course in summer in 2019 at Queen's English in Moscow. And some words about my background. So I had been teaching English for about 13 years before my CELTA, and I thought about myself as a qualified teacher. So in 2018, I felt that I'm a little bit disappointed with my job at school, and I wanted to get some fresh ideas, some new knowledge. And having discussed my problems with my colleagues, I realized that there are more opportunities to develop my teaching career, and one of them is CELTA. Well, and why CELTA? So why CELTA? So first of all, as I told you, I felt symptoms of burnout, and I was really fed up with all this toxic school routine. You know, who works at school, you understand me. The same books, the same teacher meetings, the same plans. Well, that's why I decided to take CELTA, to get motivation, to get inspiration. And by the way, I wanted to move abroad in 2018, and I searched the vacancies in Europe. I wanted to teach English in Europe, so I realized that CELTA is an international certificate, and I can work in Europe or in the USA. So that's why I chose CELTA. Okay, so let's continue. And some words about before the enrollment. So before the enrollment, I had to write an assignment, and I also had an interview with one of my tutors. And luckily, I was accepted on the course. It was a really difficult interview for me. It was about what I knew about teaching techniques, how I could solve some problems, how can I manage different things in the classroom. So, and fortunately, I was invited. Well, and now I want to tell you, what does CELTA require? First of all, as Artyom has already mentioned, CELTA requires your time and your effort and your focus. You need to focus only on this course. So you can't take CELTA and do something else in your life. So if you, for example, if you work, you need to have a vacation in order to pass CELTA successfully. Then I would like to mention stress resistance, because you need to cope with the stress, because it is very challenging. It is challenging to work from the morning and even till night. So, and the next communication skills are also very important, because you work not alone. You will work with other trainees, with your tutors. So you need to communicate. You need to be sociable, and you need to know how to get along with other people. And you can see me in this picture, yeah, and this is my group. Our trainers were Martin Nixon is here, and Liz Evans. And I'm so grateful that Milena invited such experienced trainers. They were very supportive. They were easygoing, amazing. So I'm so happy that we had such experienced trainers. what I liked in our course is that when we had feedbacks of the lessons, of our previous lessons, our trainers gave us pieces of advice, but it was in a constructive way. So I was afraid to be judged, I was afraid to hear my weaknesses, but our trainers were very supportive. They gave us a lot of support. So don't be afraid to hear your weaknesses. And I want to share this picture. It's about our weekly curriculum. It was well organized. So we started at 11. And as you see, we had, in the morning, we had supported planning, preparation time. Also, we had feedback. Then we had a lot of interesting inputs sessions. They look like the workshops. They're very interesting. And then we had teaching practice. So 2 hours of teaching practice in 2 different groups. Firstly, I taught in pre-intermediate group, and then we swapped the groups. And the last 2 weeks, I worked in upper intermediate group. And we also swapped our trainers. Okay, and now what I've learned. Actually, I've learned a lot. First of all, various approaches, such as PPP or TBL, and my favorite one is guided discovery. I even planned the lesson, which included guided discovery, and it was very challenging. Before the CELTA, I have already mentioned that I worked at secondary school, at Moscow Secondary School. I always asked my students, I explained the theme, the grammatical theme, and I asked them, did you understand? Or is it clear? And I have never used CCQs. I have never even heard about them. And when I saw these abbreviations such as CCQs and TTT, it was like, wow, what is this? So, because in Russian, we don't have these terms in Russian methodology. So this was new, something new for me, to use these CCQs. And I also heard about TTT, teacher talking time. It was first in my life. Then I realized that a teacher should talk less in the lessons. Well, I also learned a lot about error correction techniques, and now I use them very often in my lessons. I use reformulation, view correction, and other techniques. So CELTA gave me a lot concerning methodology, concerning various approaches and skills, lessons. And of course, you know that CELTA includes assignments. So about assignments, some words. First of all, it's very time consuming and really stressful. As for me, I wrote all my assignments at night because I didn't have enough time to write them in the evening. So you need to write four assignments, and here you can see 4 topics. Yeah, you can read them. So as I already said, you need to forget about your social life, about your friends, because you need to do hard work. Yeah, you need to plan your lessons in details, and you need to write assignments. Well, overall, I want to say that CELTA made me grow a lot, and CELTA is something that an experienced teacher, or maybe you think that you're experienced, CELTA is very practical, and I think it was useful for me, and it is very stimulating. So if you want to expand your horizons, you need CELTA. And some words about my future plans. I also want to take Delta Module 1, and I want to move to Germany and to enter German university and to teach English in Europe. So, do you have any questions? Julia, are there any questions?
Elika, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your experience, and good luck with your plans and goals. So
Thank you.
not see at the moment any questions. I just see some lovely comments and some nice words. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today, and it's a great honor for us to see you here with us today.
Thank you.
Okay, so yes, I see. Thank you and good luck. Yes, the best wishes. So, dear friends, dear colleagues, this is the end of the second day of our online conference, Become the Teacher You Want to Be. Today we discussed CELTA, one of the most popular courses for teachers. So, this is really important to think about your professional development and become the teacher you want to be. The recording of this webinar will be added to our YouTube channel, Cambridge Assessment English Russia. I think that it will be there tomorrow. Within 1 week after this event, we will share your certificate of attendance with you. So I've seen there were some questions from the participants about the certificates of attendance. Yes, there are certificates for each session. So yesterday we had SelfP and SelfS. Today it was about CELTA, and tomorrow we are going to talk about Delta. And if you haven't registered yet, please do it right now. And today there were some questions about Delta, and we'll answer them tomorrow. So the link is in the chat box. Please follow this link and register for tomorrow's webinar. What else I would like to share with you right now? I want to share the link to our website, Find Exam Center, Find Teaching Center. There are lots of centers around the world, and in Russia, at least in Moscow, there are a few of them, BKCIH and Queen's English, Higher School of Linguistics, to be correct. So if you would like to apply for your CELTA course, or SelfP, SelfS, or Delta, please visit our website and find the center that you like. And I would like to remind you that now CELTA is available online. This is really great. You can choose any center that you like that you want and take your course there. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.